Hello, beautiful people. And I am so privileged to have Daniela Hartmann join me. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm Janine from Janine Kathleen, the founder of a company offering personal leadership coaching and psychic healing. And Daniela is our guest today on the Mindset Alchemy podcast. Daniela, so welcome. I'm so welcome. I'm so delighted to have you join me, especially seeing as you're having a wonderful summer of travel and of adventure. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much, Janine, for having me on your show. That is a real privilege.
Oh, the privilege is all mine. People, I had the most incredible chat with Daniela, and one of the reasons I invited her onto the show is because she has had such a varied experience in life and has the most incredible focus. Daniela, could you share with us a bit about the grid blueprint and what brought you to this place?
Thank you so much. What brought me to this place was that I, some years back, already 20 years back, I worked for the UN. I loved it. I loved the international environment and these very exciting topics we were working on. And we're actually in South Africa, in your home country, working on HIV and AIDS. But I could find a few things that were quite challenging to my integrity and to the way I saw the world and how the world was mirrored in this very complex environment. So I thought these kind of inequalities I was seeing, these problems that I was seeing, to me had the root in the mind and in our perception, and that we need to, first of all, get to know our mind to then really live and be the person that we want to be and find actually the obstacles inside of ourselves, first of all, to then be able to tackle what is going wrong in the outside. So my next step was to South India, into a Buddhist monastery, Tibetan Buddhist monastery, and I stayed there for more than 8 years to study philosophy, meditation, and then worked as a translator for another 10 years. So I spent over 20 years in Asia, in Nepal and India, and then just came back to Europe 2021 and really settled to early 23 to bring this, what I have learned, to people here in, let's say, the Western world or European world or international world, as I saw people were struggling with the same thing, you know, not knowing themselves properly, knowing something is wrong and trying to fix something on the outside that can't be fixed if you're not grounded and you don't have your own value system, your own authenticity in place.
That is a very valuable statement right there. Can you please help us explore what being grounded in ourselves means for you, and how do you offer it to your clients?
Well, to me, in Tibetan, we have a word that is, or actually a sequence, or te samgom, we say. Te means to learn, so intellectually learn something. Then there's some, which we call contemplation. So we actually sit down with what we've learned and we bring our own filters to it. You know, what's applicable to me, what not, why, what can I do? And then we tailor actually what is our concoction of truth or happiness or what we need. And then we go to gom, and it's often translated as meditation, but it's actually familiarization. So we put a focus on what we want to learn, on what we want to deepen, so we can do a sitting meditation. Become aware, you know, of our body. I always talk about the three minds called brain mind, heart mind, gut mind. I know you talk about the same thing, aligning them. Then we're grounded. Then we know where we are, who we are right now, and then we can interact from our heart and authentically with our outside. And the grid is growth, responsibility, integrity, and diversity. So growth is this deep dive into how have I become who I am and where do I want to go? And responsibilities, how do I become responsible of my mind and my actions, integrity according to my values, and how can I stand up for them? And diversity is in a world that is extremely diverse in all senses. So it's connection to ourselves, connection to the people around, and to represent ourselves on a broader scale authentically.
I truly believe in meditation, and I know from having spoken to you before that you have had incredible depths of experience with this grounding, integration, and bringing into yourself that deep knowingness. I actually read something the other day that so resonated with me, that we actually have 7 senses, and the 7th sense is that of inner knowing. And as you described this, that is what came forward for me. With our heart, our mind, and our gut hearts, where did that help you go into that deepened experience of meditation? And where do you feel that this is, maybe, I hesitate to use the word missing, and yet that people may be missing it?
Well, there's 2 parts to that. And I would want to start with a missing. In Buddhism, we have something also, we tackle it from view, meditation, and action. Mm-hmm. And view is intention. You know, what do we actually want? Where is our mind? Where is our heart? And then focus in our meditation on what we want to grow and or what we want to weaken in ourselves. And we usually don't actually fight against anything, we actually strengthen. So we have 2, we say there can't be, simultaneously, there can't be 2 states of mind. They can be very quickly one after the other. But for example, we say, if you're patient, you can't be angry. So we strengthen patience rather than trying to fight anger, because when we fight anger, we focus on it.
Yes.
But if we, you know, look at patience, or my favorite is jealousy and rejoicing. Mm. So, you know, they are a pair. So if, you know, for example, I have something that I say, oh, I wish I had a podcast like Kathleen, I could do, you know, I could do 2 things. I can be jealous and say, you know, oh, why does she have it? I don't? Or I can rejoice and say, wow, you know, she's doing something I really want to do. What can I learn from her? What can I look at her? So the missing link often is that people are not clear on their intention of meditation. They just want to have inner peace.
Yes.
Well, what's that?
Oh. Now that's the question.
Exactly. You know, it's not just going to pop up if you don't have, you know, these other 2 things of two, and some of learning a little bit about it and contemplating, you know, what really fits for me, because what fits for you doesn't need to be mine. Mm-hmm. And how it helped me is meditation made me a friend of myself.
Beautiful. Share a bit on that for us, please, because that, I feel, is what people miss.
Yes. One thing is that I had to admit, and it might come as a surprise, I'm human.
Yes, imagine that.
And, you know, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a Virgo. I want to have things really well. And just sitting down and seeing, you know, I know things, but I know a limited amount of things. This is what we do as humans. We only have these 5 or 7 senses, however many a day we want to count. And we have our own lens. So that is all I can see right now. So if I want to widen it, I need to first be okay with who I am now, or else I'm fighting myself all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is also what I try to, or what I work with my clients in the Grit Blueprint is, we are with ourselves 24/7. If we're not our best friend, if we are our own enemy, you know, we sleep, we eat, we breathe with our enemy. That's not fun, is it? So, getting to know myself. For me, meditation is really checking in with myself, being gentle, and then looking, what do I really want? And then go in that direction.
That's actually very powerful, because for me, meditation definitely is about recognizing various aspects that either are asking to be released or asking to be received. You shared an experience of meditation, the depths of it, becoming one with consciousness and with source. Would you like to share about that really deep deep inner grounding that you experience?
Well, there is a way of meditation after a while. I mean, first of all, it's really good to just be able to come down, relax, and see just how our mind works, and then start to be the observer of our mind. And then from being the observer, we start to be the driver of our mind. So we try to be not tangled up with our mind, and bumble through the world, observer, driver. And then from the driver, there's a moment to kind of pull the mind inward and say, where does all of this awareness actually stem from? And then suddenly there's nothing to pinpoint. It's just an experience of consciousness. And actually this experience of consciousness is basically neutral, or that is equanimity. Things just pass through, like the wind passes through, the rain, somebody says something, and then we get to, when we get to be quite aware, we can figure out the moment when our mind kicks in and judges. And then it judges, let's say I have the wind coming, I can just feel it and let the sensation just pass. Be aware, but let it pass. Then I can have the wind, and then there can be a thought of like, it's a bit too cold. And it might be an informative thing, maybe I should close the window or else I get sick. But then from the sensation, then the thought comes, it's cold. And then if we are not able to change our mind, then we get like, why is it so cold? It's July, it should be hot, in Germany at least. And then we start bumbling along with it. But then there's a way of just pulling back and going back into this mere consciousness, into this mere just experience without any judgment. And that's very interesting because our whole world arises just through this spark of consciousness.
That is so beautiful. I know you described it to me as a place of weightlessness, almost like an experience of standing on a very tall rock with nothing around you, that you just are. And that is what really impacted me when you said that, because I've had that experience in the physical as well as meditation. And you can feel quite, the word lost came to mind, and it's not the word I'm looking for. People are afraid of letting go. They're afraid of expanding their comfort zone. Where have you found meditation has helped you to expand the boundaries of your comfort zone way beyond anything you could have expected?
It is when I am in this state, and it can come quite naturally sometimes. Sometimes when things are the loudest, my mind just pulls back. And then I can feel that there is this inner stillness that is connected to everything. And that is something that is just an incredible experience, because then I don't feel separate anymore. I don't feel separate from, let's take the example from the wind again. I experience the wind, and my body is actually this amazing receptor of the wind, and my consciousness is able to experience it in just the beauty that it is, and let it go at the same time. So there were moments in my life, of course, where I thought, oh, I can't do that because I'm a human and, I'm a woman. And I would just sort of try to question behind it, where does this construct come from? Why do I adhere to it? Is it something I really believe? And then I can find a moment of expansion and say, let's just go this one step, and do something completely different and see. And I still have my consciousness. Nobody can take that from me. So I can still turn that around or do something new, or listen to my discernment and find, where something is really not good for me. But what really struck me with being with my parents when they passed, so putting their comfort, their moment first, even though it was, of course, a stretch for me at that moment, and then seeing consciousness expand into everything. yeah, I would say that was very interesting.
And that's a very kind way of putting it. And may I offer my condolences on the passing of your parents. Do you find that what you believe and what you have been using to sustain yourself in life has helped you with the passing of your parents in a deeper way?
Oh, absolutely. What we in Buddhism, we talk about impermanence, and this is what I take into the grid, into the growth. That nothing changes. Nothing stays the same, even for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about impermanence a lot, and we actually contemplate on death on a daily basis. So, it can just be a plant, it can be the cells in our body, our body's constantly renewing.
Yes, it is.
But it's also the way of seeing, for me at least, consciousness goes on, and sometimes the body, at least for my parents who were that old and that sick, the body was being difficult for them. So they were just released to another place, fortunately in a very good way. So yeah, no, for me, it was actually a privilege, a grace to be there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's many find it very difficult to share on the passing of loved ones or the passing of people they're aware of. Where do you feel that in some ways their passing empowered you in a deeper level?
Well, there we go into energy. I think all families and people who are so close are very entangled in their energy because their expectations and hopes and fears. And death can be a real release. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to really clear the table beforehand, even if it's just for oneself. But if you can talk to the loved one and, find what was good, what was bad, forgive each other, forgive oneself, and really let them go into an open field sort of thing without holding on to unspoken resentments or wishes or whatever it might be. I think that's really important, but I could feel that the entanglement, and I was quite conscious of really meditating again and again and really letting them go, also letting my version go of their child and of going into a space where I was not anyone's child anymore.
Yes, you have hit on a very important point of the passing of a parent. You are no longer anyone's child. That really resonated there. If you could offer our audience one thing today for them to use this week, what would that be?
I would say if what people are up to have a sort of meditation is to just sit down and talk to oneself as a friend. Just check in. Like, you would call a friend and say, hey, how are you doing? What's up? And then have this little dialogue of, this is, and just have an open, compassionate ear to ourselves. Because that is, I think, you're a coach as well, and I'm a coach. I think the privilege of doing my grid work and you doing your work is being that compassionate ear for the others and giving that safe space of expansion and to look into corners that in everyday life we like to overlook. And there's a beautiful quote by Ram Dass. I'm not sure I shared it with you before.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I call it, we're all just walking each other home.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, Daniela,
it's really touching. So I really try in everyday life, whenever I get upset, because I can sometimes be a bit irritable, just to think, or to all just walking each other home. So this is also something, again, with a grid, I'm trying to walk people home to their authenticity, but also if you want to do something this week, just walk yourself home. Yes. Find a home in yourself, because the moment we are in ourselves, we can be our authentic, heart-centered self, as I like to say. And then we can have this clear connection with others, because then we're coherent. And then, you know, we can build trust, reliability, and we can have this depth in our life.
Wow. Sure. People, go back and listen to that, because there's so much gold in there. In fact, put it on repeat. Daniela, that has been incredible. I just would like to say thank you so much for your time. I will be putting Daniela's contact details in the show notes. Daniela, what do you feel is the most important focus of the grid blueprint for our clients before we say goodbye to everyone?
Yes, it is this finding the home in yourself. There's another quote, you might like it too. Strong back, soft front.
Yes, yes, the mountain. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Please quickly share on that. People.
So that's of a Zen Buddhist called Roshi Joan Halifax. And having a strong back is when you're anchored in yourself, when you're grounded in yourself, you know, you can bend. A strong back still means you're flexible, but your heart can be open to the world. But you have your own steadiness. So this is really what I do with a grid, to really go step by step, create this safe space, create this connection, so people can find their own home. And I do that even for free. I have a discovery session, so people can just ring me up for an hour and we can just chat through about what is it that blocks them from feeling comfortable with themselves and what they would like to know how to make that wider, because it is a tailor-made approach. It takes a bit of search.
That's, I feel, very often what life is about, is that search. It's like brings an element of expansion and of mystery, frustration to it sometimes. Daniela, thank you so much. Can you share about your travels that you've been on? Just an idea that, yes, you do get to have some fun too.
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm quite lucky because in Europe, you know, you fall out of the house and you're already in another country, so that's nice. So this weekend I was in Greece because there was a wedding of another part of the family. So I had my first big Greek wedding, or big fat Greek wedding, with a lot of dancing and jumping around. So that was beautiful. Now I'm going to Ireland into a tent camp, into a festival. And I'm going to do whatever, drumming and yoga, and just meeting all these different people, because after 20 years in Asia, and as long as my parents were alive, I focused on them. But now suddenly I can do all of these fun things. And yeah, and I am kind of looking on finding a permanent place in Europe, so I can have a good base here.
That is wonderful. People, go look in the show notes, connect with Daniela. And Daniela, thank you again for your time. I so appreciate you being here, especially seeing as you're on your way between places.
Thank you so much, Janine. It was a pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Likewise. Bye-bye, everyone. And remember, find the grace to walk yourself home. Bye-bye.
Bye.